Okay. That is what you call the quintessential slump buster. You ever need a little bit of a get back on track mode, a little pep in your step? Things aren't going your way. What do you need? Kings. Just a little Kings basketball will set you right and do you and do you right in the morning. You know, you got a 4-game losing streak. You just had the worst week of the season. You're free falling in the standings. Give me the Sacramento Kings to right that ship. Loved it. Miami Heat get themselves a big-time win against the Sacramento Kings. And before you mock that statement, any win when you're in the kind of week the Heat just had is a good win. Anyone is a big win. Doesn't matter. Had to get it right, especially with the week that's lying ahead. You're about to go on the road for 3 games against Eastern Conference foes. You got the Boston Celtics leapfrogging you over the weekend. They're in the midst of a 6-game, or we're in the midst of a 6-game win streak. And it was time for some change. I think that was the interesting thing from this game, is that the Miami Heat were, looking at this, and Eric Spoelstra, who had some interesting things to say before the game in regards to this being a humbling experience, the 4-game losing streak, and going in there and trying to figure things out from that standpoint. And that's what they did. They decided to tinker with some things.
I actually didn't get to the game until yesterday, and I think that was actually a good way to watch it. A little bit less emotion and look at it from a little bit more from above. And that's just it's a kind of a trend that's really been happening for the last, 10 days, 2 weeks. And that was kind of a culmination of a lot of things. So we're trying to work on things. I don't think it's been an easy ride for anybody in this league except for maybe Phoenix. But everybody else has been going through stretches where they're trying to figure it out and improve and work on some things. And that's where we are right now. Feel good about the session we had this morning. That does not guarantee anything, but, losing can be very humbling. And losing in that fashion is extremely humbling, and that forces you to really come together and work for solutions and really address things with detail. And that's where we are right now.
So you got Strus is loose on his birthday. Max Strus, he's about to get loose. Going in there, he takes Duncan Robinson's spot in the starting lineup, which is interesting. You got Duncan then coming there off the bench. And where was Spo going to go with the rotation changes? What was up his sleeve? What did he have that was going to be going for him in this matchup? And we saw it. Like, there were a couple of things that really, really stood out. The facts that they went with Max Strus in the starting lineup. Then again, they went and took Tyler Hero off the bench earlier. I mean, they went to Tyler Hero pretty quickly, like 6 minutes into the first quarter. Boom, he was in there. Gets him in there with Bam Adebayo. Finds Bam for a slam. Comes in, hits a fadeaway that's bouncing around. Finds Bam again. Tyler Hero was really finding a lot of his guys and actually came in. He had 5 points, 4 assists right there in the first quarter. And you just saw, normally, we think of Tyler Hero, we think of that ignitability. You think about, he is going to do this by scoring. But I think where we've seen such growth from him is the idea that he can get others involved. He can get that chemistry going. And that was what was impressive about this, is that he was really trying to get everybody else ignited. And then, of course, he can follow suit and get hot at any point. Jimmy Butler with this game, it was good to see. We saw Jimmy in this being very determined to get into the paint in the second quarter. A lot of determination on the Heat's part, like with what happened against the New York Knicks, which was absolutely piss poor with the rebounding and the second chance points. Miami was going to make a real determination to not let anything get away from them in that standpoint. And you saw that from Jimmy. You saw that from Bam. Bam had a huge game as far as the rebounds were concerned. He was really getting after the glass. So that was really cool to see. One thing that was cool to see also was Jim Laranega. Coach L, shout out to the Canes, They made it to the Elite Eight, and he was there. Throws up the U, gets a little shout out from the crowd, and it was cool. Coach Spo was giving him some mad love after the game.
What an absolute basketball junkie! I love him. I absolutely love him. Not to go on vacation, not to think about anything else, or go on a recruiting trip or anything, but to enjoy a basketball game. That's a guy I can relate to. I like Coach L. I wish I could spend more time with him. We have spent some time, with these chalk talks and everything. But if I was a young player or an older transfer player, I would like playing in that program. They have a lot of fun and they do it the right way.
You gotta love Basketball Junkie. And there's those big grains falling. Love it. That's great for recruit. How's that not good for Jim Laranega recruiting too? You have a top 15 all-time coach coming out of this, and that's a program I would want to be a part of. That's awesome with Coach Spo. He's been showing a lot of love to the Canes in the whole lead up to this. So yeah, we got a different look at this. I think the big thing in the second half where the Heat really kind of stepped on the Kings' neck was in the third quarter. Jimmy comes out, hits a three, really starts lighting it up from downtown, hits three from downtown. Max Strus got a huge birthday alley-oop from Kyle Lowry. He had a nice game from Duncan Robinson. He did well off the bench. And Tyler Hero and Bam really kind of put the emphasis on this one to cinch it up. Bam had a Euro step on what's-his-face, number 7, and Pepis was playing. That was all she kind of wrote for the ball game. So interesting things from this was, one, that the Miami Heat were in a situation where they had to get a win. They had to get things right. They're back up on top of the East. They have leapfrogged the Boston Celtics once again, who have dropped down to 4th. Very tightly contested three-team tie there. Obviously, that'll change come yesterday one way or another. They'll either fall further back or the Miami Heat will extend their lead over the Boston Celtics. It's going to be a fun matchup. Boston has gotten the Heat a couple of times this year. One of them, the last time in Boston, the Heat didn't have Jimmy, didn't have Kyle Lowry. And was a big turning point game for Bam, too, because Bam had a tough go of it. They actually just suffered a big-time injury. Robert Williams looks like he's going to be out for a while. And, Boston has been fantastic. As much as I hate their guts, they have been fantastic defensively. But Robert Williams is, arguably their best defensive player. And the idea that they're not going to have him now for several weeks is a huge, huge blow. Because, that means more Tice. And, Bam versus Tice. That's usually good news for Bam Adebayo. So this is going to be a fun matchup coming on up. But there was a couple interesting things that were said in the postgame. And one was from, I asked Duncan Robinson, just about, was last week a big deal, with all the losses that they stacked up, with the Heat being so good all year? Did they look at it as just a rut that they were having, or did he find it to be something that was significant? And I was kind of surprised. He was like, nah, we thought it was pretty significant what happened last week.
I think to be honest with you, it felt like it was a big thing because it was, and it is. We got to figure it out, especially this time of year. The sense of urgency was high. Guys want to win. Everyone in that locker room wants to win. That's the one commonality. So, yeah, man, it was a big thing for sure. But at the same time, just learn from it and move forward.
It's always good to get that refreshing honesty from a guy like Duncan Robinson, who gives you the kind of the pulse of where things are at. That it wasn't acceptable where they were at. Jimmy Butler, he was asked about this as well, and he believes it was a good thing for the Heat to go through in some ways because they were getting a little too comfortable.
I think so. I think we got comfortable a little bit, expecting that we're going to win night in and night out. Everything's not going to be all good. Everything's not going to be all bad. We understand that. I just think at the end of the day, we got to be in it together, which we are. And we're going to continue to be that way. Win, loss, things happen. We understand that as well. And we move on from it like we have. And we got one. So let's get back to stacking wins.
You love to hear that. I mean, it was a fact of, all right, you think that no matter – I think this is where I think that he got too comfortable. I think that one of the interesting things about this game, and I know we could take it with a grain of salt and say it was the Sacramento Kings. Fine. Hey, save your comments. One of the things that I think is interesting about this game is Spo decided to go back to what got them a lot of their success, which was basically Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, they're in the rotation. Caleb Martin, when healthy, he'll probably be part of the rotation. Dwayne Dedmon's going to be our backup big, and we're going to kind of roll with this. And I think what Jimmy maybe meant with we got a little too comfortable is I think they probably took for granted just we can roll literally anybody out there and it's going to work out. So we could put Markieff Morris out there, and we can put Victor Oladipo out there, and you can put whoever you want to out there, and it's all just going to work out because it has been working out all year. Jimmy was out, worked out. Kyle was out, worked out. Bam was out, it worked out. But those are the interesting thing is it was with the stars out. A lot of the time when the role guys were out, you did feel the effects. Gabe, Max, Caleb Martin have been so huge all year for this team. And so, yeah, you look at it at surface, you say, well, we brought in Markieff Morris to be the veteran big, to be our backup 4. We brought in Victor Oladipo to be our big acquisition at the trade deadline. But I think they're 5-6 since Victor Oladipo returned. So maybe they're 5-4 because I think he missed a couple of those games. But, they have not been the same team since he has come back. Is that all a Victor Oladipo thing? No, I'm not saying it's an all Victor Oladipo thing, but there have been games where they definitely left out. I remember him being at the game where he came back and he's like, I appreciate Max and Gabe sacrificing their minutes for me. And it's kind of at the point right now where it's like, well, I don't know if they can suffer that. I don't know if they can do that sacrifice anymore with where they're at. I don't know that they can do that. So now you have to look at it from a standpoint of, all right, is this what they're going to go with through this timeout? Because you have 6 games left. And are you going to go with what's given you the most success? And I think when Jimmy says, oh, we got a little bit too comfortable, I think that has to do with they got a little bit too comfortable with, hey, we literally could rule anybody out there. We'll find a way to win. And that just wasn't the case. That really wasn't the case these last few games. You have to give your stars, Bam and Jimmy, space to operate. Kyle's been fantastic, especially from downtown lately. He really seems to be finding his rhythm. That's great. We know Tyler Hero has been hot all year. But you're not gonna not play Jimmy and Bam. Might need to stagger them a little bit more. And when they're not out there, they're not going to shoot, except for Jimmy weirdly last night. You need to find the thing that makes them most comfortable. And I just think that, with those other guys, the ball sticks a little bit, doesn't move as great. Vic just doesn't seem like he's got that immediate chemistry with everybody. And it's not blaming Vic. He just came back. So I don't know maybe the expectations were just a little bit too high. I think physically he looks all right. I think he does look physically okay, but this is a case of you're kind of just parachuting him in and you thought, this is going to work out together. And really, as much as you would bring defensively, Gabe Vincent probably is bringing just as much. The shooting, Gabe Vincent's a better shooter. Every once in a while he has a really sick a really sick step back jumper, or he has a sick reverse layup, something like that. But for the most part, this is a guy still on the mend. He's still on the way back. And then Markieff Morris, I almost found it surprising how much Spo was trusting in Markieff Morris right off the bat, just because he was out for so long and just wasn't part of things. And it's like, Spo's like, oh, he kept himself in great condition. But again, this hasn't been a case of the guy hasn't been around. Do I think it means he doesn't play at all ever? No, I can see such scenarios where he plays, especially if Dwayne Dedmon gets into foul trouble or things like that. But Victor Oladipo and Gabe Vincent, I don't know, man. For me, it looks like Gabe is starting to pull away there. And I was a guy who definitely was skeptical of, man, is the young guy in the playoffs, is that going to work out? But he just continues to prove himself, I feel like, every time out there. And I'm interested to see where this thing with this Max Strus and Duncan Robinson thing is. I think the thing that's interesting with Max is, look, the Strus gets loose, dude. He does. Like, he goes out there and he's going to shoot his shots. Duncan Robinson sometimes feels like he can get lost in the shuffle, gets a little bit bogged down, doesn't pull the trigger as much. Maybe the flip-flop there will work out for him, I'm sure Duncan's not thrilled about it, but this has been an element of the team. They say they're going to enjoy each other's success and all that grandeur and claims that they make. So let's see if that's the case. Let's see if that is the case. Jimmy Butler after the game was also saying he still believes that this is a team with championship potential.
I feel like that we put together this roster to win a championship. It feels like a championship caliber team. It does. We have lapses at times. We got a couple more days, games to figure that all out. But when we're clicking, when we're guarding, when we're making shots, when we're sharing the ball, I think we're going to be really tough to beat.
It's going to be an interesting final 6 games. Very, very intrigued to see how this all plays out. I think we're going to all overreact one way or the other. If they kick the Celtics' ass or if the Celtics beat them, Celtics would either have the sweep on them, or it'd be a case of, now we really see what's what. So it's going to be a fun game. I can't wait to react to it, to hear what the reaction is with the Sully and Murphs up there for sure. But I thought that, as much as I know it was just against the Kings, I thought it was great to see Miami was in this spot where they had a situation where they didn't think things were going great, 4 straight losses. Spo didn't stand pat. He went back to what worked. And I thought that was very, very important from this team. And hopefully it continues to go in that direction.